Hey folks, hey, welcome back. So I ended up taking a phone call. That phone call was several hours in length. It was not somebody I was expecting a phone call from. So my turn got interrupted and then it was too late for me to continue. So it is now the next day. I do have to pick up the pieces where I left off, and where we left off was we were in the middle of the attack on this particular bomber, and we rolled a 9, which means that the catastrophic effect went into place. So this bomber is fallen, and I just finished giving the experience point to Grzelowski here, and actually I just gave the experience point to the Staffel. We earned 1 because we have a fallen plane, and yes, Grzelowski also has an experience point. He has 2 now, so we have to do several more things. So since we're playing the advanced game, if we were playing the basic game, then we would actually get victory points for this. And then we'd be done. This plane would go away. So no matter what, whether it's basic or advanced, you have to take a fallen marker and put that there. And so what that means is that bomber's gone, right? He's no longer in formation, and it creates a -1 to all of the regions that are around him. So this becomes a 1, a 1, a 1, and that 4 now becomes a 3, because that bomber is no longer providing, support fire to everywhere around it. So that's the first thing, and that happens no matter what, okay? Now, in the basic game, these damage markers go away, because remember, if there's 2 damage markers, we do a cohesion check, you count both of these, right? These go away, and now there's 1 marker for cohesion check. So the cohesion check is not necessarily going to get, worse for them. But since we're playing the advanced game, this is what you do for the advanced game. We have to take these 2 markers, and we have to go over to this table here. And the mission turn, as you can see, is on turn 4. So for mission turn 4, we have this that we're going to put here, and we take one of these bomber tokens, and basically he fell out of formation, but he's still trying to limp his way home, right? And so what we have to do is we have to send one of our fighters to go intercept that. So on mission turn 4, it fell out. So our fighter, let's say it's on mission turn 5 that the fighter goes out to intercept it. Then, the amount of turns that it takes for us to finally go to intercept it is going to make it harder to intercept, because the bomber has a head start, right? So that's what all of this is emulating, is we have to send somebody as soon as possible to intercept that bomber so he doesn't get away. Now, the challenge we have, and we know that we have this challenge, is I have an injured bomber here, or fighter here, and an injured fighter there. Both of them may not even be available to hunt after that bomber. And if that's the case, we're going to get no victory points. That's the biggest hurdle we currently have, and I have no control over that. We're going to have to roll some dice and hope we get lucky. But let's say we do roll the dice and get lucky. In that case, we would actually be able to pursue this guy, but we are going to be delayed by a couple turns. But don't let that bother you too much. It does mean that in a really bad die roll, which we've had plenty of in this game, with a really bad die roll, we could get ourselves in some trouble. But we might be okay, is what I'm trying to say. Okay, so I am realizing something here, and I'm just fixing it off the camera. I had a continuing fire card that I put in the wrong discard pile. That's always going to be a challenge. Okay. So, we still have to do continuing fire for Grzelowski. Now, Grzelowski has a skill that's called breakaway, which means that he can ignore the continuing fire and just break away. Now, the reason you would do that is because the continuing fire could mean he gets hit again. He is in an area that's now a threat level 1 instead of 2, so his risk is low, but because he was determined, there's a real good chance he'd be hit. So he already has 2 hits on him, and it may not matter that he gets a 3rd. So I'm going to go ahead and just break away. But I'm going to draw the card anyway so you could see how it would have turned out if I didn't. So I'm going to break away, which means that this card does not apply to him. But we're going to do it just for fun and for rules purposes. So had he not broken away, we still had a threat level of 1. He was climbing, not diving, so we would not have done this. And he would have taken another damage. So I made the right call. Now, if he was in evasive mode, and I want you to be familiar with these cards a little bit, because these cards are so mysterious when you first start playing. The fact that the determined ones get hit more than the evasive ones, that's something you learn as you play, and that's part of why I had this hunch that I needed to break away. So I used his skill. That means he can't use it the rest of the mission, but that's fine. That spared him at least 1 hit. And that was just a what-if scenario. That was not actual gameplay. And so when he breaks away, then we take the climb marker and the elevation markers away. And because he climbed, he's going to be returning here. And he goes here because this was a determined return. If he was evasive, he would have gone there. Okay? So that brings us to the end of the round. We are done. This element now has a fallen bomber. And if the element were ever to lose cohesion, then it would get one of these, and then we would add another -1 to all the numbers. But that's not the case. So we're going to just keep moving there. And that moves us to mission turn 5. And just so you know, the interception rules are as you count the number of blank spaces between this bomber and your fighter. So if our fighters intercept the bomber here, we're guaranteed to catch up to him. It's only when our fighters are trying to intercept in these later turns that it becomes more of a risk. So I just want you to understand that, the fact that we're not going to be able to intercept him on this turn is no big deal. In fact, if you intercept him by this turn, you're still in great shape. So just wanted to make sure for folks that are new to the game, it's pretty forgiving. Okay, so we go to the start here, and the first course is move. There's nobody available to move because remember we're in the return boxes. So then we go to the return boxes. Nobody's available to move because they both have wounds or you know what I'm talking about. They've been hit. So they're not eligible to move in the return box either. We go to the escort phase, which that does happen. And we got 1 escort over here. And I rolled a 6. So he's going to go here, which I just take the one that's already there and send him back. And that happens at the end of the escort phase. But there was nothing the escorts are doing here, so there's no worries. So a guy goes back. There's never going to be more than 1 in the same location. Okay, so that's done. And now we go to recovery. So this is where we finally decide what's going to happen to our guys. So I'm going to grab the one that's over here in the tail. And that's this guy. So Bar has a wing of 2 and a wing of 7. So let's do the wing of 2 first. And so I rolled an 8, which would have been fantastic, but for the 7, but unfortunately I said the 2. So this one's gone. And I should have just kept with my rule and said, let's do the 7 first, because watch me not get a 7 or better now. Oh my gosh. Hold on. I rolled a 10. So that was fantastic. Bar survived to fight another day. So his wounds got brushed off and his plane is okay. Maybe got some bullet holes in it, but he is now ready to get back in action. Okay, so now let's see if we got the same luck with Grozowski. Always watching. And so I'll follow my rule, even though last time it worked out for me. I will do the elevator first. So let's see. And it didn't work that time. So, and then the fuselage. So had I done it the other way around, I got a 5 and a 5. So I would have succeeded in getting rid of this, but I still would have failed that either way. So, okay, we just remember, you always have to just pay attention. It's the elevator. And so I'm going to go ahead and throw that back in the cup. And then for the elevator, he goes there. And yes, we are at a risk of him being killed. Now, the good news with this one is you can see that the risk is low. So I got to roll really poor for him to get killed. So, you know, fingers crossed that we're going to be okay in that regard. Okay, the mission continues. We do cohesion checks. And again, there's only one marker in each space, so I don't do any cohesion check, or I could, but I'm not going to succeed. And so there's no attack, and we're at the end of the round. So the mission turn goes to 6. Okay, there's no move. I only have a guy in a return box, and so he returns to there. And that's his whole move. I can't do anything else. Then we do the escort. And I got a 4, which means he's going to tail low, which is here. And so this one is going to fly back into below trailing, right? So then we do, there's no recovery, there's no blast and flak, there's no cohesion. I mean, there is, but there's no point in rolling, and there's no attack. So now we go to mission turn 7. So I'm going to pursue that bomber. So this fighter is going to exit the map using his move action. He's going to exit the map and go here. All right, so he's on at turn 7. Now there was one other rule that I just realized. It's called the regroup rule. And I'm going to pause the video and look it up real quick. I don't use it very often, but I think that this was a chance to use it. So give me a second. I will be back, and then if it applies, I will explain to you what regroup is. But it's a very important rule that, like I said, I don't use it very often, but I think in this situation, it would have been very helpful. So 1 second. Okay, so the regroup rule does not apply. And in fact, I need to remember this for the future. But basically, what a regroup is during the recovery phase, which is this phase right here. So in the last move, we did a return, and if you recall, our fighter just moved from here to there. That's all he did, right? And then we moved on to the next phase, which is escort, and then after that is recovery. So during the recovery phase is when regroup happens. And what it does is you can take any box. Boxes are these, right? Any of these boxes. And I'm just going to grab some fighters here. And so let's say I selected this box right here. If this box regroups, I can take the flight limit and reduce it by 1. So right now the flight limit is 9. So the mission is 9 turns, right? We have 9 turns before the mission ends. That would then get reduced to 8 turns. But then I can count my fighters and go 1, 2, 3. And all 3 of these fighters would give us 3 tactical points. So the tactical points would go up 1, 2, 3, like that. That's how that would work. Now, we're at 2. Why can't I do that, right? Because I had the situation where I had one fighter that was on a box. It moved from here to here during the return step. So then we got to the recovery step, and there he is, right? He's sitting in the box. Why couldn't I do that? The reason I can't do that is you can only do the regroup action before the first bomber falls out. So there's a bomber that fell out and is on the turn track. Once a bomber's on the turn track, the regroup action is no longer available. So that was the mistake I made. It was a big mistake because I could have, at some point in this game, I could have regrouped and given myself some extra tactical points. But that's okay. We'll keep playing. It's my fault for not paying attention. And just wanted to make sure that you were aware for your games. It's like I said, you don't use it all the time, but when you do need it, it's pretty nice. Okay, so the mission's over. There's no fighters left on the board for us. And so we can just take the escort markers and put them back in the box. And of course, I want to bring back my fighter there. This fallen marker goes away. So do these go back. And now we're on what's called the pursuit map. So this is coming out. And the pursuit map is, you know what, that's something I could put on my other camera, but I didn't connect the other camera. So we're going to use this one for now. And so first things first is the bomber itself gets put here. So you can see this is our bomber token. We can put this back. You don't need this anymore. And the number of tactical points you have, you can transfer any tactical points that are from the map over, but you're spending them. So if there were more than one bomber we were intercepting, we would need to divide our points up. There's no other bombers we're intercepting, so we're going to use both of our tactical points, right? And give ourselves 2. Okay, so there's an order for things here, and let me get out the sheet to make sure I don't get the order wrong. One of the first things we got to do is we got to verify that we actually intercepted, and sure enough, first step is intercept. Fighters attempt to intercept the bomber. Okay, so we're selecting our fallen bomber, and we have to intercept it. We have to roll a die for each group. If the number rolled is equal to or higher than the interception number, the attempt succeeds. Okay, so I moved my bomber token a little too early, but if you remember, this was there. So there's 2 spaces in between. I'm going to roll a die, and I have to get a 2 or better to intercept that bomber. So basically, if I roll a 1, I fail. So it's as simple as that. It's just a very simple die roll. And I rolled a 9, so I succeeded in intercepting the bomber. Okay? Now, I could have had multiple, so I roll for an entire group of fighters. So if I had 3 fighters all in one group, all 3 of them would have succeeded with the interception. If I had 3 different groups of fighters, I have to roll 1 die for each group. And so just because one group succeeded doesn't mean the other 2 did. And it's entirely up to you. Like, you can send as many groups as you want after one bomber. You can have just one big mega group. It's up to you. And it really depends on your situation. In our situation, we had only 1 fighter available to send. So it wasn't like we had much choice. But if I'm running out of turns, which we were getting close to the end of the mission, I may have sent like all the fighters I had available, right? Why not, right? You just send everybody you got. But then the decision you have is, are you sending them as one big group, or are you sending them as, several little groups? That's where some of the strategy comes in. It's not that difficult of a choice, to be quite honest with you. There's only one group that does what's called a first pass. And so typically I would advise you only send one group after each bomber. That would be my advice. Like it's okay to have more than one plane in your group. Like, that might be smart, but there's really not much advantage to sending multiple groups after the same bomber, unless that's really the only option you have. So anyways, I just wanted to explain that. We're going to get more examples as we continue playing, and so it'll become more obvious to you. This was not a super great example, but just trying to help you understand there's a lot of flexibility here in the rules. And yes, you can do just about anything you want to do. It's just that when you intercept, you have to roll a die for each group. That's the thing you need to remember for now. Okay, so we succeeded in our interception. So here we are. So now we got to do what's called setup. So we're going to put the intercepting fighters and damage markers from the turn track to here. And so my fighter is coming over, and I'm just going to put him here for now. But basically, he's going to get to do what's called a first pass. But we have to do setup first. And first thing we have to do is we have to roll for the sun. So I'm going to roll, and I rolled a 1. And you can see here, it says sun 1 to 5, none. So there is no sun, is what it's saying. So the sun marker would theoretically go there. I mean, there's no point. It just basically, there is no sun. Now, if I would have rolled an 8 or a 9, the sun would have been here, so we would have had, this would have been coming out of the sun. It gives you a bonus it protects you from getting hit whenever you have the sun at your back. Okay, only one fighter group is allowed to be the first pass. Remember, I was talking about multiple groups. You have to select which group is going to do the first pass, and it has to be the group that was closest. So the bomber group was here on 4. Our fighter group, I think, was on 7. Let's say there was another fighter group on 8. the 7 group has to be the first pass because it would have been the first one to arrive. The 8 is much further away. Now, if I had 2 groups on the 7, I get to choose which one. Okay, so I just want to make sure we're talking about scenarios that don't exist here, but you get to basically choose if they're in the same box. Okay, and it says which is first. The bomber group or fighter group that's nearest to the bomber is the first group, and then you get to choose. All right. So we got to use the right pursuit map. Make sure you're picking 1942, and make sure you're picking the one with the B-17 if that's the B-17 map. There is a 1942 for Storm Above the Reich, and it'll actually say B-24 right below it. So they're pretty easy to tell apart. Just make sure you have the right one. Okay, so the damage markers come over, and this is where the bomber may already be destroyed by the time we get here, and that's what we're figuring out now. That's what the rest of this setup is figuring out. So what you do is you take the damage markers and you just separate them out like this. So this is a wing damage of 1. So I put this over here where the wing is, okay? And let me move the camera over so you can see the wing better. This big 5 means if I had 5 damage worth of markers, the bomber is destroyed. By the time our interceptors get there, they basically just confirm the kill, okay, or confirm that it's destroyed, okay? So what would happen in that situation is you would get the victory point because you confirmed the kill, but the fighter itself would not get any experience points because it isn't responsible for bringing it down, okay? All it was responsible for was flying over and confirming it, okay? This situation, there is not 5 damage, so that doesn't happen. However, we do have 1 damage marker here, and it shows that for 1 damage marker, I need to roll a die to see if it's on fire. So if I roll a 9 or a 10, it's on fire, and then it tells you what happens here. So I rolled a 7, which is not enough, but it tells you here that for each damage marker, roll a die. If the number rolled falls in the printed range, so if I had 2 damage markers, the fire chance gets higher. And it basically, the bomber is engulfed in a conflagration. It is destroyed. So there's 2 ways that it could have been destroyed. It could have been destroyed by the 5. It could have been destroyed by this die roll. And like I said, in both cases, that would be considered a victory point, but no experience for the fighter. All the fighter's doing is confirming that it was in a ball of flame, blah, blah, blah. Okay? But neither of those situations happened here. And you got a similar thing like with the rudder, with the elevator. There's a lot of locations that they can be damaged. But we got one more damage here, and that's the engine. And I know it says 0, but that doesn't matter. It's still considered a damage marker. So we come over here to the engine. I'm covering up the word engine there. But we have the same thing. So the engine has 1 damage marker. We automatically gain 2 TP. Why? Well, since its engine's damaged, it doesn't fly as fast, so it's easier to catch. So we get some extra tactical points. It doesn't get away from us. And then we're going to roll a die, and if we roll a 9 or a 10, it's destroyed because he bailed out. I rolled a 1, so nothing happened there. Okay, so setup is complete. We got some extra tactical points. The bomber is still alive and puttering, on its way home. And now we got to go into the next phase, which is first pass. So first pass is we can place the fighters in any position we want. And this is the important step that everybody, well, not everybody, but people can forget. No TP are expended on first pass. So we ignore all TP costs. This is huge, folks. You definitely want to take advantage of that. So what does that mean? Well, it means I can put my fighter anywhere. And if I put them here, this costs 3 TP. However, I don't need to spend 3 TP. I can just put them there and it's free. If the sun was somewhere, I would probably want to go wherever the sun is. And so I can go nose high, which is 3 TP, or I can go tail high back here, which is 2 TP. There's all kinds of options. And I honestly don't know which the best option is. You would think that since this is the most expensive one, that this is the best one. And I always fall for that trap and try it. I honestly am not sure that through my experience that it actually works out that way. But let's try it. I can tell you that the tail is nice because with the tail, you sometimes get to ride the tail, and then that allows you to attack multiple times. But let's try it. We're going to go nose high, and we're going to come in after this guy. And it doesn't cost any TP, so this is going to be a free attack, basically. Free from the perspective it doesn't cost us anything. So first thing we do is we engage. So we select each fighter's mode. So we're either going to say determined or evasive. There is no maneuver, so there's no climb or roll left or roll right. We don't have to worry about any of that stuff. But we still have to decide determined or evasive, because those cards, we're still going to draw them. And then for attack advantage, if we have 2 or more fighters in the same position in altitude, 2 different altitudes, or swarm, all those things apply. We have only 1 fighter, so none of them apply here, but they could have applied if we met the situation. So before we decide whether we're determined or evasive, let's talk about what happens next. Then we're going to attack the bomber just like we would in any other situation. We're going to draw an attack card and then, do whatever it says. It's telling us, what happens if we damage certain places on a plane. We can talk about that later. A breakaway, the determined fighters will break away to the return box. Evasive fighters break away to the evasive return box. So we need to understand what that means before we decide whether we're determined or evasive. That's the whole reason I'm reading a little bit ahead. And then if there's a hit fighter, we perform recovery immediately. There is no delay like there was on the other map. So if there's damage to the bomber, we don't do a catastrophe check because he already fell out. But we just apply the damage just like we did during the setup. And that's all you have to do. And then it's just basically saying if the sum of the markers equals or exceeds the number printed in the damage box, the bomber is destroyed. So remember, you always have to add things up, and if that wing ever goes over 5, for example, then he's destroyed. And then there's rules for fuselage, and then bailout, fire check, etc. A lot of this is just a repeat of what we already know. Okay, so the return box and evasive return. So let's talk about that. If I go in determined, I'm going to show up here in the return box. It says TP to exit this box as indicated in the destination space. So if I go to the return box and then I choose to go here, I'm going to just pay 2 TP. That's all it's saying, is you just pay whatever TP for wherever you go. And you can see it costs TP to go anywhere. Okay, so we're going to be spending TP, and once we run out of TP, then we have to give up the pursuit and the bomber gets away. That's how this works. So staying in determined mode, well, we have to pay whatever TP is indicated there. But what about evasive? Evasive means we probably won't get hit as easy, but it costs 1 TP to move to the return box. So if we do an evasive return, we have to spend 1 TP just to go over to there, and then we have to spend TP to leave there and do whatever's here. Now, there is no timer. The timer is we just go until we run out of tactical points, and then the bomber gets away. So basically, if I go evasive mode, I have to spend a TP just because I went in evasive. That's really the cost. So evasive will make it so I probably won't get hit, and that will keep my fighter alive a little bit longer, but I have to spend an extra TP to do that. So that's a really tough decision, and I don't even know what to tell you to do in most cases. If you had multiple fighters, then maybe, you don't have to worry about that. Anyways, I think that, for the most part, it's all about luck. I truly don't know what to recommend. So since we only have 1 fighter, you could look at it in one of 2 ways. Let's be aggressive and take this guy down, because that's the only way we're going to get a victory point. Or you could say, let's be evasive and stay alive, because since we only have 1 fighter, we got to keep him alive so he can take it down. Is 4 tactical points enough? Right now we're spending 0, right? If I go evasive, I'm going to have to spend 1, and then I'm going to have 3 left to do another pass. Well, obviously I could do another pass like this at 3, but but then I would blow my tactical points. And so I basically get 2 shots at this thing to take it down. That's a hard call because he's not close to dying. He has like no engine damage and he has 1 wing damage. If he gets another engine damage, it does make the die roll a little bit easier. But you know, he needs more than just 1 or 2 hits to go down, it looks like. So I'm burning my tactical points really hard. Now the other thing is I could go evasive, spend 1, and then I have 3 points and I can maybe come in, you know, low TP, right? That only cost me 1, right? So then I'm down another 1. And then let's say I go evasive again, you know, and then I can do, so now I'm getting, I'm getting 3 attacks in. So it is possible you could stretch it out. Or I go determined, spend no evasive points, you know, and then I'm going determined, and I'm taking my chances that I can survive whatever hits I take. Because remember, if I get hit, I just draw one of these, and as long as I outroll whatever is on there, that 8 is awful, by the way. As long as I can roll an 8 or higher, I stay alive to fight another day. So getting hit is not always the worst thing in the world. Now, Bar, his skill is quick. So quick means he can turn evasive or determined on his own. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go determined, and he's got his quick skill. Did he use it? He has not used it. So he can use his quick skill to switch. So as much as I was just explaining to you how gut-wrenching it is to make that decision, I don't need to because he's got the quick skill. So this is showing where the quick skill really comes in handy. It's perfect for this scenario. Okay, so I'm coming in high, nose high, 3 TP. So I got to grab the nose card, and here we go. The threat level, by the way, is 0. See that right there? The threat level is 0. So nose high, this would just be a collision check, and that's it. And then down here, there's nothing. Doesn't matter if I'm determined or this. And just so you know, that collision checks are ignored, and so is the pass-through number. So this C is ignored and the 3 is ignored. So we ignore both of those. I got 0 hits on the guy. But because I was determined, I didn't spend any TP either. So I go to the return box. And now I got to decide, okay, how much TP am I going to spend to come back and get him again? So what I'm going to do is, my favorite is level tail. I know it's been 2 years since I've played this game, but that's what I remember being my favorite spot. I think coming in from the front has never paid off for me very much. Like if you look at just this, you know, coming in high, there was only 1, 2, 3 spots where you even got a hit. You know, if you're coming in level, there was quite a few more. I mean, just pay attention to all the hits on the bomber. The nose level was actually a better route, at least for this card. I mean, we got to study multiple cards before you can draw a firm conclusion. But anyways, if I would have gotten no ammo, by the way, then I'd have been done. So good thing I didn't get that. Okay, so I'm going to come in from the tail. Now, the tail has 1 threat level, which seems worse, but I mean, you just saw that with a 0 threat level, that didn't do us any good. I would have had to spend a lot more TP to go up here again, but I'm spending 1, so I'm going to go from 4 to 3. And once again, I'm going to go determined because we have the quick skill. So I'm going to just draw a tail card. And here we go. We are tail level with a 1, and boom, I can hit him, but then I get no ammo. This is a tough choice right here. If I'm no ammo, I have to drop. I can't fire at him anymore. If I choose to switch, use my quick skill, I take a hit and don't do any hit on him at all. This is a crappy card. This game is just beating me up so bad with just bad luck. What's the chances that 1 hit is going to take this thing down? It's very low, to be quite honest, folks. But if I take the hit, there might be a chance I'm not going to continue fighting anyways. All right, so let's do, I'm going to give you my official decision, and then we'll play out both scenarios. I'm I'm going to take the hit and not lose the ammo because I still have tactical points and I want more pass-throughs. So and here's what sucks is I have to use my skill to do it, so I don't even have my skill anymore. That just blows chunks. If I would have gone high, look, I would have gotten a hit clean. Oh boy. Yeah, I'm going to take the hit and use my skill to switch from here to here, and I will take the hit. So let's do that, and we resolve it right away. So I'm taking the hit of a elevator 7, which is awful. I just rolled a 3, so I'm out of the fight. So once again, we got 0 victory points. And now the guy's going to possibly die. So he goes to the elevator for damage, which is the same place the other one's at. Let's say I would have damaged the bomber. Let's just play it out. I would have had no ammo, right? And so this would have been my only chance at shooting him down. But as you saw, I lost my chance at shooting him down anyways, right? He's going to get away. So let's say I would have damaged him. I would have had a fuselage of 3, which is interesting, but it would have not have been enough. Fuselage of 3 just goes there, and I need 8. Now, fuselage does add a bunch of components, but it does not add engine or wing. So I would have had 3 out of 8. The bomber would have survived just fine. So, to pull out a few other examples, like this rudder 3 would have downed him. So had I drawn that one, that would have gone here, and that rudder of 3 would have downed him all by itself. So one hit was possible to take him down. It's just that you needed the right kind of hit, and we didn't draw that. We are, we're playing miserably right now. This campaign is not going well, and I don't think it has anything to do with combining Skies and Storm together. I mean, you could have just been playing Skies of the Reich, and it could have gone this bad. I don't know if the vector map thing is helping us much. I think that's hurting us a bit. Maybe my choice of skills or randomness of skills isn't helping us, but we're just getting awful die rolls at like the worst times. So 2 missions in out of the 6, and we still have 0 victory points. It is an awful game. I'm actually concerned that I'm not going to I'm going to have to start another campaign probably, but let's play it out. Let's see how it goes. I mean, I guess, what's the term? Challenge accepted. But we're not out of the woods yet. We got 2 fighters here that are fighting for their lives. So, the elevator. BF-109s and FW-190s share the same. These are both FW-190s. And so a 7 to 10 lands, a 1 to 6 crashes. So I'm going to roll 2 dice. The red will be for the top guy, Bar, and black for the bottom. So I got a 10 for Bar and a 2 for Grozlowski. So Bar lands successfully. So he will be safe. He will fight another day, and he gets an experience point for landing. Let me go grab his sheet. And that is Bar's first experience point. So he's well on his way. Grozlowski, though, not so good. He crashes. So here I'm going to see if he gets wounded or succeeds. And you can see that the odds are in our favor. So assuming I don't roll bad, and as long as he doesn't die, he gets an experience point. So let's pray he doesn't die. Oh, he dies. Oh, come on. Oh, you stink so bad. Grozlowski is down. And so now we're going to have to replace him. He had 2 experience points, folks. Come on. He had 2 experience points. So he's going to be replaced. Oh gosh, what's even a man's G name? Gerald? Gerald. Oh, so we have another death. Okay, so looking at our situation here, we have a third fighter that died out of 6. If we get 6 deaths, we automatically lose the campaign. This stinks. All right, so we're 3 out of 6 towards losing the campaign. We have 0 victory points, so we're well on our way to losing the campaign that way. But we still have all 18 pilots because anytime somebody dies, you can replace them for free. So let's grab the skill here. All right, so the skill we grabbed is Rookie. I actually don't know what that one does, so let me look it up. Oh, just gotta find the right sheet. Rookie is when hit, draw 2 hit markers, look at both and select the one with the higher number and put the other back. If the numbers are the same, you get to select either. So basically he gets the worst of the hits. But okay, so he's a rookie. And that's it. That ends mission 2. I'm going to end the video here, and then I will continue mission 3 in the next video. We need a break, folks. We really do. This is probably one of the worst starts I've ever played. And I know it's been 2 years since I've played, but I just don't recall it being this bad. Yeah, hopefully the dice will start coming our way. Thanks for watching, and as always, stay healthy, stay safe.